All right. I'll turn it over here.
Like we have a forum. Roll call, please.
All right, Marcus Crawley,
Here.
Jeff Cambra,
Here.
Yusef Herbert, not here. Andrea Dawson, Benjamin Scott.
Present.
All right. You have a quorum.
First item. Agenda is to approve the agenda. Or do that.
That I the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you. That was actually from,
that was from the previous meeting and just didn't get updated appropriately.
just got
Yeah.
carried.
That's not like
Yes. So the agenda items remained exactly the same. There was additional language that Mr. Crawley had provided initially that was not incorporated into the first draft of the agenda that was posted, that was then added.
Any other questions or comments regarding approving the agenda?
Okay. So we're having audio difficulty recording. The audio is not coming through on this. What I'll do is I'll move. Well, I guess I'll try and put it closer.
Do we need to move closer because of this?
That probably would help if we move closer.
And,
Yeah, I apologize.
and I will try to face your microphone when I'm talking.
Okay.
Okay, Mark, then it looks like we are ready to do a roll call on a approval by vote.
So we're voting to approve the agenda.
Yes,
Marcus Crawley,
yes.
Jeff Cambra,
Yes.
Herbert's not here, Andrea Dawson,
Yes.
Benjamin Scott.
Aye.
Jill Broadhurst.
Yes.
Agenda is approved.
Thank you. Next agenda item is to elect the BMOC chairperson. And I'll just read the note that's attached to that agenda item. It says the video review of the July meeting shows that the chairperson election might not be legitimate. Member Yusef Herbert made the deciding vote However, the Brown Act requirements introduced by AB 2449 requires remote attendance via audio and video. Committee member Yusuf Herbert was not present in person or via audio and video. So the chairperson election should be redone to correct any flaws in the election procedure. So I nominate myself as chairperson. Are there any other?
Yes, I will
Nominations.
nominate myself.
You nominate yourself
Yes.
for
Can I have
chair.
just a point of information?
Okay, I received the nomination.
So when
yes.
was AB 1482 or whatever it was? When was it? When did it come into effect? And when were we supposed to discuss it and then start adhering to it? Because again, to my original point, last meeting, I thought there was supposed to be a period where we discuss it and then it goes into effect, which I thought was that meeting. So we never had a discussion before. And then you're saying that a rule went into effect in a meeting that we weren't notified of how we were supposed to be present. And then we were out of compliance. This makes no sense. I mean, this is a circus and it's frankly very disappointing.
Okay, may I respond? Apparently, AB 2449 was approved by the governor last autumn. And it went into effect, we're supposed to go into effect at the end of January or thereabouts. It took most institutions a number of months to digest it and see how they were going to apply it. And the first time that I think that we discussed it as applying to this committee here was in June or maybe July. Andrew, you introduced the subject. Do you remember whether it was June or July?
My recollection is June because I asked staff if we could get clarification on it. I asked for legal clarification on that from staff. Because the
July
board,
was the first time that it was discussed in this group.
correct.
But the law was in effect.
And the reason why it wasn't discussed before, though, is because we had 3 months without a quorum. The previous 3 months, we did not have a quorum.
So then we would need a meeting to discuss what our new parameters were to meet. Which to me would exempt that meeting from the parameters, since we didn't know what the parameters were, since we hadn't been meeting. So the last meeting which we had would have been our first meeting with those parameters.
Okay, yes, Mark, will you please respond?
Sure. I get where you're coming from, but the problem is it's the law went into effect, as opposed to when this body started agreeing to apply by the law. So,
But we weren't not, it wasn't about agreeing or not agreeing, it was about being informed, and we weren't informed.
They assume we have the responsibility.
But we're
of
human
knowing
beings
the
that
law.
need to hear things, and we can't hear things unless we're in meetings to hear things, and we weren't having a meeting. So that would have been our first meeting. So that means we shouldn't have had that meeting. The meeting should have been, we should have announced and then stopped the meeting.
Yes, technically, yes. Bocce, we had 4 in the room though, right? There were 4 in the room.
yes, it was 4 in the room. 4 in the room.
So there were 4 in the room. So yes, we could have still had the meeting. It was the action taken.
So I'd like to chime in here, and there's an old saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse for violating the law, and that applies here. We didn't know about it, and we didn't apply it earlier, but that's no excuse. It applies. And the first time that we actually embraced the requirements was the July meeting, I believe.
Discussed in July, embraced in August.
Yeah, there was an ask prior to that, and
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah, I think to be clear, this note only remedies part of the problems with the July meeting. Because there
okay,
were two, Ben was also not, again, not knowing, but Ben was also not there, so
so what other problems do you think that,
they should have reflected that two of our members were not attending in person, so we've only singled out Yusuf.
yes, my recollection is that Benjamin Scott was attending via video and audio.
I don't know, Ben, were you? I don't believe you were.
I was there.
Were you audio and video?
That was my understanding.
Well, we'd have to look back on the
Yeah.
recording. So it's a technicality, but.
Are we
anyway,
just
that's-
repeating our last meeting again? This is
Okay.
fun.
So we can remedy that perceived shortcoming by now electing a chair in a new unit of time. Are there any other nominations for the chairperson? Hearing none, the two nominees are myself, Marcus Crawley, and Jeff Cambra. Okay. I'll say a little bit about why I would like to be the chairperson, and then I'd like Jeff to say a little bit about why he would like to be the chairperson or be effective. And I'm interested in being the chairperson because I want to see our CBOC fully established. And it has not been fully established since about the first year. We haven't had a student representative at this meeting. And even the first year, the student only showed up a couple of times via video. And then a few months later resigned, and we just never have gotten a student. So the CBOC has not been fully established. I want our website to be all that we would like it to be, and I plan to make that a high priority. I want our bylaws to be to our satisfaction, and we haven't even had a discussion about our bylaws. And I want our core values to be accountability rather than anything else. So that's the reason why I would like to be elected chairperson. Jeff?
So I am interested in being the chair so that we can be sure that we attend to all the policies, procedures, and laws that are required to follow. And it can be complicated for anybody at any time to be able to do that, but I take open government and transparency very seriously, and that we need to make sure that we comply with all of the policies and procedures. I do want to address one thing though, and that would be the bylaws, because that is something that has come up, and we did form a subcommittee. However, we have no authority to change bylaws. And so while I am happy to engage in that committee, I think there's some preliminary work that needed to be done that has not yet been done for us to go and be effective and not waste all of our time. So policies and procedures so that we're following, so that we don't have to repeat what we're doing tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mark, will you do a roll call on the election of the,
Can any of us question?
oh, excuse me, yeah, please do.
Yeah, okay, so I'd like to understand what you mean by accountability for this body, that you want to focus on accountability. What does that mean?
I think that accountability means that we have looked at the expenditures and found them, we approve the expenditures or we object to the expenditures. And so far, all we have is deferred our approval or objections to a third party, which is a auditor. I think we should be looking at accountability and expenditures on a more frequent basis than once a year. Does that answer
Okay.
your question?
That answers that question. So then the second question is, why do you believe we have some sort of, I call it jurisdiction in the bylaws? Because as I understand it, the board created this committee because they passed a proposition that under the 55% rule that requires a citizens bond oversight committee. And they created the bylaws for this committee based on head code 15264 through 15282. Now, if there is an issue with something that the bylaws don't comply with that, in most districts, the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee comes and says, wait a minute, you missed something here. That you missed the senior citizen. Instead, you have an at-large person, and that's not correct based on statute. And the other thing is, this committee could recommend changes, but the bylaws do not belong to us. They are our avenue for operation. Matter of fact, it is actually legally not required to have bylaws of a committee, but committees do, and particularly committees like a body like ours. ELAC committees, which is another education committee in school districts, they have bylaws, but they're very different than ours. But they're all created by the board. They're not created by the committees themselves. They are all under the jurisdiction of the trustees of a district. The way I understand it, and I think I've studied it quite a bit.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
No, I just wonder if you see that differently than I do.
I think that we need to look at our bylaws. So far, we haven't done that. That is one of the things that we need to do. And during this last month, I have asked Mark Johnson to give us some guidance about making changes to the bylaws, and he did give us the information, and I plan to talk about that when we get to that agenda item. So right now, I'm not here to argue with you or try to.
Okay, I just wanted to understand.
Okay, any other comments or questions regarding the election of the chairperson? Hearing none, Mark, will you do a election by roll call? A vote by roll call.
Okay, so I think because there are two different candidates, we need to go through one first with an aye or nay for the candidate, and then go through again if needed.
Okay, if that is the way that you recommend, let's do it.
I mean,
Yeah.
All right, so let's see, Marcus Crawley, self-nominated. I'll go around the room this way.
I'm not sure that's right.
Okay.
We just take the vote, right? I mean, because you don't, I don't think we have a vote where you vote no. I'm not gonna vote no for Marcus. I'm just gonna vote yes for me. So I think we can just indicate our own desire.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, so let's do it the way that Jeff is suggesting, and that I think is you say Marcus Crawley, who votes for him, and you go by roll call, and then you do Jeff Canberra and do it by roll call.
Okay, I'll go through the roll call order on the agenda. Marcus Crawley,
Yes, for me.
okay. Jeff Canberra,
I vote for myself.
Youssef is not here. Andrea Dawson,
I vote for Jeff Campbell.
okay. Benjamin,
Mark scrolling.
okay. Jill,
I'm also for
okay. So that's 3-2. Mr. Crawley wins.
Okay.
Your next agenda item is public comment.
Right. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we move on. The next agenda item is number 5, and that is a correction for the July meeting. The July meeting stated that committee member Yusuf Herbert attended, and I think that the correction should be that the Yusuf Herbert did not attend via in person or via video and audio as required by the Brown Act.
Is this an action item?
It's listed as correction and approval.
Okay,
So since we're going to,
It's an action item, yes.
Yeah.
so it is an action item there. We need to approve,
I'll
correct and approve the previous agenda.
I'll
Minutes.
I'll just point out that these minutes were previously approved at the August meeting. And I believe that the member information in the minutes is accurate as presented, in that it says Mr. Scott was remote and Mr. Herbert was remote and the other 4 members were in person.
Okay, I thought that the minutes also indicated that Mr. Herbert was attending as a member remote. And that is the whole point of this reelection, is that he was not in attendance.
I'm not a member of the committee, but
Yes.
I think it's accurate as written and previously approved.
Okay,
Again, they say remote, but it doesn't say audio and video, which is what I brought up the last meeting, that these both needed to be changed. And I believe that, again, you'd have to look at, but I don't believe that Ben was on video during that meeting, in that July meeting. And so I raised this the last time, that these remote needs to also indicate that there was an audio and video presence.
can I make a suggestion?
yes, Andrea.
Okay, so then can we just table this until the next meeting? Because I think we need to relook at it and make sure it's accurate. And if there's some I think there's some, staff has looked at the video. I don't think we want to take the time right now to look at the video. We
Okay.
can table this and move on.
Thank you. That's a good suggestion. Does anybody disagree with Andrea's suggestion that we table this item and bring it up next meeting?
Other than to note that also 5C, we would want to clarify and add audio and video to that description.
What are you suggesting there, Jeff?
Well, right now it just says must be on camera. And the Brown Act is very clear about audio and video both.
Yes.
So I think we should have a clarification on point 5 as well.
I think you're talking about 3 and 5 or 5? I was,
We are now on agenda item number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, since we would like to have a vote and put this thing to bed next time, Jeff, would you send me your suggestion on what the wording should be?
Sure.
Okay. Would that be okay with everybody? Jeff sends me the wording for the revised or non-revised minutes from July. Okay. Very good. Then, hearing no objections, we're moving on. Okay. Item number 6, approve the minutes from last meeting.
go ahead.
So, for the August meeting, I believe Andrea was, she was out, she was not,
And I was where it's posted, San Barbara.
yeah, for that meeting, so that needs to be changed to remote. And then Ben was actually here in person.
Correct. We're moving ourselves.
Right, and then Yusuf was present, and again, I would suggest the wording reflect audio and video both, and not just remote.
Yes, good point. Thank you.
And then down to item 3A. I think when we have motions and votes that the way each of us vote need to be reflected in the minutes themselves. So with this one, it says the minutes were approved with 2 abstentions, but we wouldn't know who the 2 abstentions were. And just for the record, I believe Andrea and I were the.
I took the minutes, and if it was written that way, that was because I couldn't see the person's name on the recording, and I didn't know who that person was for the vote. So I still included that part, but not the name because it wasn't captured in the video.
Fair enough. Thanks, Genova.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then on 5, I guess it's 5B, I just would like my name reflected on there along with Andrea's for the points that were raised. And then once again on 5C, and I think we have our explanation, but if we could also get the names that were reflected in the vote.
And that was you and Andrea.
You know, I just did this. Jeff reflected the same comments that Andrea had made. I think it would probably be sufficient.
Well, I mean,
So was it Jeff and Ambria for 5B?
5B should be Andrea and Jeff, Andrea Dawson, Jeff Canberra would like clarification.
and then C,
It would just be, make sure that the individual names were reflected.
Right.
And I think that also goes for item 8D as in dog. And again, in 10C as in cat.
Thank you. You know what would be helpful when you guys doing a vote and just say the name of the people who voted so I can make sure that I capture everyone's name, because when everyone votes and say I don't know who that person is.
Absolutely.
that's a
Yeah.
great suggestion, Genova. Apologies.
Yeah.
We weren't thinking like that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jeff?
I think that covers it all.
I
Okay.
have one minor correction.
Yes, Andrea.
Okay, so, on the approval of the minutes, approved meeting agenda, it says moved by Canberra and seconded. That's not the right machine.
Oh, it said second by Johnson.
It
I
says
can't.
second by Mark Johnson.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Yeah, so I'm not sure who seconded that, but, that should be corrected also. We'd have to go back and look at the tape, but it should be corrected.
Okay, now regarding all these modifications, should we do the modifications and table it and bring it up next time as a vote to approve those minutes? Or are we vote, or should we vote right now with this substantial changes to the minutes?
Well, I
Which-
think technically we would have to have them reflected somewhere, and I don't feel like they're reflected other than we'd have to go back to the video to look to see if they were corrected, and so I would think the most prudent way to do this is let them be corrected, and then we just quickly look at them next month.
That isn't normally the way it's done.
That-
Usually you
yeah.
trust staff to correct it and approve with the corrections.
Yeah.
So that you can move on and not keep revisiting
Okay,
in subsequent meetings.
so we will. we
I've
will
never
bring
been on
them up
one
with-
committee where we've had to look at corrected minutes, not one. That means you don't trust staff.
So are there any objections to us correcting the minutes and reviewing them next time for approval?
I can very quickly summarize the corrections so that we can vote on it now, if that
That's
would
a
be
good way to do
appropriate.
it. Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
here you,
Yeah, once you summarize the corrections, corrections can be made after the meeting. They can be emailed out to you, so you don't, as you were saying, we don't just.
Yeah, that's a very good way to do it.
so, from the top, in the meeting members present, we are changing Andrea Dawson to, remote on camera. We are changing Benjamin Scott to in-person, and we are changing, Yusuf Herbert to remote on camera.
Audio, video.
Audio, video.
Audio,
Okay,
video.
I'll use the audio video for
Yeah,
Andrea
not just
Dawson as
camera.
well.
Audio and video.
And you can also strike chair.
Yes,
It's Marcus Crowley, chair.
yes. Okay. Very good point.
But was he chair last meeting?
Uh,
The acting chair?
he was,
Well-
yeah, acting as the chair and then revisited at this meeting.
I
Yes,
mean, I didn't chair the meeting, so.
Yes. Okay.
Technically, he shouldn't have chaired the meeting. If he wasn't chair.
So going back, Andrea Dawson, in-person audio, or I'm sorry, remote audio and video. Benjamin Scott, in-person. Marcus Crawley, chair, asterisk. Yusuf Herbert, remote audio and video. Okay. Item 2A. We need to go back and confirm who seconded, but it's not me. It's a member that seconded.
Okay.
Item 3. The 2 abstentions will be noted as Canberra and Dawson. Item 5B, we will add Andrea and Jeff. For the clarifications. Item 5C, will clarify that the 2 dissenting votes were Dawson and Canberra. And I believe that's all of the corrections that I had noted.
8D.
Oh,
As in dog,
yes.
just how folks voted, and then 10C. The same thing.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll send a follow-up with the corrections made to the meeting minutes, and then I'll try to capture how everyone voted, if I can, get the names and the numbers of who voted or not.
I'll vote every time and then you'll know. It'll be much easier.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so noting those changes, the committee can vote to approve the minutes as amended, or you can revisit it at the next meeting, your call.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
As amended.
Okay.
Yes, amended, yes.
Okay, so Jeff Cambra moves to accept the minutes as amended. Jill Broadhurst seconds the motion. And I'll go, Mr. Crawley,
Yes.
Mr. Cambra,
Yes.
Ms. Dawson,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Broadhurst.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item. And this is the BMOC vacancy report. So, Mark, can you tell us what is being done to fill the student vacancy?
Sure. Every time that this committee has a meeting, when we push out the announcement for the meeting, we include a note that invites students to participate. And we have not received any student applicants. So they're getting essentially a monthly push. But it's not a direct email saying, sign up and be a member. It's the committee is having a meeting, and then within the body of that message is students, we invite you to participate. So we could do a more active push. I'll tell you that that's direction I would need from the chancellor. I'm balancing, recruitment is not listed as a line item in my job description, although supporting committees like this is. So I would need some direction from the chancellor to be more active in the way that we are recruiting students. We had previously discussed reaching out to professors in real estate programs and building programs that, where students may be wanting a career in this type of industry where it would be appropriate for them to join. And I'm not sure what the status is of those conversations.
Have there been any notes put on the bulletin board, student bulletin board, saying that a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee exists to build your campus, and we need one of you students to be on this committee?
I'd be delighted to post anything that you give me.
Okay.
I have another question. To the chair, sorry. So when you say there's a push, I'm just curious where the email's going, or how did the students find out?
Yeah, we send out the announcements to all employees and also to students, and we include both the student's Peralta address and a personal address. Our students sometimes don't read their Peralta assigned address, so we also send to their personal address. And depending upon what their preference is, that's how they get the message.
Well, Mark, I would like to see the district be a little bit more proactive. Just sending out an email that gets no response year after year is not proactive enough. And so I'm suggesting that even a bulletin board posting is at least a step in the right direction. And I think that the people connected with the college have enough smarts, ability to do this, to just go do it. And you don't have to wait for me to draft something for you to make an announcement.
I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Crawley. I have a job that keeps me incredibly busy, more than 40 hours a week. And if you're suggesting that I'm not doing my job by not filling this seat, I take umbrage at that. And I would ask that you follow up with the chancellor. There's so much to do in our district to get students in the seats that fulfilling filling the student seat on this committee is not a high priority for me. And I would say that you frequently say that this is an independent committee, and yet you're pushing on the district resources to help populate the committee. I just want to point out the tension of that. We're here to support the committee. Let us support you, or keep us at arm's length.
I don't know what your job description is or your job burden. I do know that you have at least one helper, but and the chancellor has resources also, but I point out that a fully functioning CBOC is a requirement for the bond program. So I would encourage the district to be more proactive rather than it's not our job to recruit members. It is the district's job to recruit members and to appoint members to our CBOC, our BMOC. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to let others do the talking. Now, the chancellor had her hand up first, so I'm going to let her talk first.
Actually, Ben was before me, and I will be happy to.
Yeah.
Talk, because I will comment.
I didn't
There's a
see
problem.
it.
It's okay.
You don't have eyes on the side of your head. Okay. So my only question, because I do advertising, marketing, real estate, is when something's not working, usually I have to go back to the original, whatever I'm sending, to say what's wrong with it, because obviously it's not working. So without micromanaging the district, I'm just curious, students need like engagement. So if they're getting something very legalese that says, hey, come to this bond committee meeting, I probably wouldn't come. I was a student for like too many years. There's gotta, anyway, I'm more than happy to look at whatever's being sent and help you word it, because you're sending out a tremendous amount of emails. I'm in shock. I mean, I do mail merges and MailChimp and all that. So the fact that you're sending out that many emails and getting no response leads me to believe that they're doing a good job. I think maybe what you're sending is not engaging, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say that. But you got to really kind of, spice it up for students to get, something under their feet to want to engage, because there's a lot engaging them as well. And this probably doesn't look, I think we could make it more attractive.
Well, I want to.
I don't know. I don't know what it says.
I want to follow.
Just-
If there is a
just-
way.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm done.
finish.
I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, excuse me. I didn't think he was done.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought he was finished. So in the district, it's hard to keep students on committees. This is not the only committee that would struggle to have students on. These students, trustees, they go in and out, but they usually are very active for the board committee. But other, including student government, it is very, very hard to get the students to participate. So I just want to put that out. We can advertise, we can put it out there, but this is not the only committee that struggles to get students to participate. So I just want everyone to understand how difficult it is to get them to participate.
Okay, I understand that it's difficult, but this is probably the only committee where you have an obligation to get a student on it. So for a number of years, whatever has been done is not enough, because there hasn't been any, as far as we can tell, any students that have applied. And the one thing that you have been doing could be expanded, you know, there's bulletin boards on campus. You know? In fact, we talked about this a couple of years ago. And Mark expressed that that's a good idea. It hasn't happened. Oh, okay, now I don't know whether you were first.
No, I didn't know Jeff.
I think you,
Okay, Jeff, good.
so I think this is, this conversation is being misdirected. This is not a staff issue. This is a board trustees, those folks behind us.
Absolutely.
So they appoint, they remove. And so I think at the most we can do is to request staff to express our concerns to the board. And hopefully we would get an answer. But I think that's as far as it goes, and we should definitely not be directing or criticizing staff.
Okay, I don't think that anybody here was criticizing staff. We're criticizing an effort. But nevertheless, and I think that Mark misunderstood my comments, because I have the highest regard for Mark. And he probably is swamped with things. I've been in construction myself, and I understand a simple thing takes 4 hours, and a complicated thing takes 4 months. You know, so I understand that he can be, but we want to get the dialogue moving. Yes.
Through the chair, and I don't know if the district thinks, and I'm not trying to
Okay.
micromanage, but can I see what's being sent? And could I, is everybody open to
Yeah.
suggestions?
Please do.
I'm happy
So
to share.
Is
Yeah.
that okay with the committee?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
would
was
love it.
just gonna say, I would echo, I mean, I do a lot of marketing in a different professional role and outside of this, and I just think it's probably tweaking the language, maybe even placing the link or the call out at the top versus the bottom, and have its own banner. I mean, so it's like technical stuff like that really might catch a student's eye. And then I don't know if there's course credit or some type of something that comes with this, but obviously if that is something that can parlay into this, then that is a potential recommendation for a student, which obviously turns into job opportunities. And that's how they look at this. That's what we have to be thinking is how is it going to be advantageous for them, separate from learning how to conduct themselves in a professional environment.
Very good.
Great. And I'm sorry if I lost my cool. I thank you, Mr. Cawley. I do appreciate your comments very much.
So we're friends again?
We're friends again. Yeah, but yeah, there is so much to do, not enough time to do it all. And I do take direction from the chancellor. I report to the chancellor. And so if there is any kind of workload shift that needs to take place, it needs to come from her.
Any other comments on this agenda item before we move on? Hearing none, we'll move on to the website discussion. Mark, do we have a category chart yet?
Not yet.
When?
Probably by next week.
Okay, so, we have met before with a couple of your whiz guys.
Mhm.
Can you just give it to them and say, do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the bottleneck on that point.
Okay. All right. A couple of years ago, I gave Miss O'Neill a tough time about you calling approved minutes still draft minutes. Let's sharpen up our website there, and approved minutes should be approved minutes or just simply minutes. And draft minutes are ones that we are still contemplating. So I think that the website should reflect that. Any comments about that? Okay. A couple of years ago, we talked and said that we would like the website to remove thank the voters. As I mentioned, I don't think it is is the position of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee to be thanking the voters for voting to approve a bond. I think everybody else with the school district should be thanking the voters, but because the voters approved the bond, we have volunteered to work for free for this oversight committee, and everybody else gets paid. The contractors get paid, the staff gets paid, you get paid, everybody gets paid. So I don't think that thank you voters is appropriate for our website. And you said you were going to remove it.
It is not on the new website. Yeah, it's not on the new website. So I don't know, you're still looking at the Build Peralta site, I take it?
Still looking at
Yeah.
the Build Peralta site. I thought that the Build Peralta site was simply going to have a button that says the website. And if it's got all this information about the website, in addition to the website, it's really two websites.
Correct. Yeah, we need to decommission the Build Peralta website.
Right.
So that everybody who is searching on it goes to peralta.edu to the bond measures oversight
Okay.
space there.
So when can that happen?
Yeah, I was waiting for approval from this committee. I mean, we can do it whenever.
Okay, so
Wait, I just,
It's listed as I mean, I don't think, I think we had this conversation last month where it was a discussion item, and I said, I just need some direction from you. So if you're giving us the green light to decommission Build Peralta for the bond measure oversight information, that's very, very easy and quick to do.
okay, did you have something to say?
that was a clarification. That's what I just wanted to make sure and understand that the oversight committee is not linked to the Build Peralta. correct?
We would scrub Build Peralta from the bond measure oversight. We would
Got it.
just include a link back to the Peralta website where the
Got it.
committee's
Right.
All right,
information stays.
That's what I would like. Is there anybody that would like something different? I'm not going to give him Marcus Crawley's directive. Let's talk about it a little bit. Does anybody object to us decommissioning the Build Peralta, these BMOC website, and only having a simple link saying
The link from Bill Peralta to our
right. So it would not have any data other than here's the button for the website. And there'd only be one website.
for us. And yeah,
For us.
and then the Bill Peralta. So you know that there's a bond oversight committee.
Yes.
When you are reading the Bill Peralta, you push the button and you get over to our,
I think that button on the homepage of Build Peralta site stays there. It's just instead of going into the Build Peralta site to the BMOC page, it goes to the Peralta website to the BMOC page.
so you have to take an extra step to get to.
No more steps than currently if you
Okay.
stay within the building.
So all the information for the BMOC on the Build Peralta site, most of it is relevant. And it's identical to the website, to our website, but it's not exactly the same. We would like a single website. Not two of them. So right now, when you push the button, for the oversight committee, it drops down a menu. And that menu is not the same as our official oversight committee menu.
So rather than the menu, you just want it to direct you to our website.
Right,
There's no menu with it. It's
Right.
just one line to see the bond oversight.
that's what I would like. You
I have
agree?
to go- Well, it sounds right, but I have to look to see how it reads. I mean,
I mean, I just say like from a standpoint of just like web management and stuff like that, you don't want two duplicative websites that have to be managed and potentially are not being updated or saying the same thing. So my overall opinion is that we have one website.
Yeah.
And then from there, what's actually, once you hit the button, where that takes you, and that's this body, that seems to be just from a clarifying standpoint, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And that would be something I support.
I support that too, because right now we're maintaining two, because of kind of limbo status that we've been in.
Yeah.
So, now that I have my, marching instructions, I think we're good.
So do we have to take the action on so it's clear?
We've given him his instructions for clarification. Next meeting, there will be an action item.
Next meeting, we can do a show and tell. We can show you what we've done with the website.
Great.
All right.
Okay, moving on to 8E, and that is, I would like you to post the video on the website the next day. In other words, this Zoom video, if it's all possible, at all possible. If it takes a couple of days to do it, then just let me know that it takes a couple of days to do it.
It takes a couple of days. I'm dependent on a staff member to take the Zoom recording and post on YouTube. And that usually is done within 1 to 2 business days.
Right.
So I can't guarantee next day.
Okay, so I don't request that you do something heroic, just routine.
Mhm.
And I would like to see it on the menu, not hidden on the minutes. So in the past, we've had a link to the video at the very top of the minutes. And I would like to see it right there. We have 3 items: the agenda, the minutes, and the video.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's doable.
Okay. And so therefore, we wouldn't need the minutes quite so soon, because we would like to take a look at the minutes well before the next meeting. And when we only get to look at them when they're sent out 72 hours before the next meeting, that doesn't give us very much time to prepare. So can the minutes be posted, at least draft minutes be posted a couple of weeks in advance before the next meeting? Is that possible?
I think that's a question for Theria and Shinobi.
Depending upon her, we can try, depending upon her, we're very short in our department. So depending on the availability. Yeah.
Well,
So
we would really appreciate it.
So you're saying post the draft minutes before they're reviewed? Because normally,
So we're meeting monthly. I'm saying 4 weeks. So after our meeting, 2 weeks, you're asking for it to be posted, correct?
Yes, that'd be
Okay,
great.
and then that gives you 2 weeks to review prior to it. So it seems like there's action every 2 weeks. You meet, post, meet.
I would really appreciate it. It helps us get prepared. So Andrea, did you have something to say about that?
oh, well, I just thought, I didn't know if anyone was proofing them, like, I used to get the minutes, and then if there was some things that I saw right away, I before they were posted, I said, here are the changes that I see. Didn't always catch everything, but, and then they were posted. So we wouldn't have as many corrections as this. So,
Yeah.
because when there's this many corrections, it's been, in my other committees, we bring them back when there's this many corrections. That's why I said that. So,
So I ask them to be patient. We'll try and see, how we go.
Every little bit of improvement is welcome. Thank you.
Great. And that document would clearly reflect draft, right?
Yes,
I
it's a
think
draft.
it has to clearly reflect draft.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so that is genuine draft.
Yes, and I will try to get the minutes back within the 2 weeks. That's your request because I really would like the input with the corrections needed. So when before the next meeting come, everything will be good to go. So that's no problem.
Yeah, and I think my suggestion would be that when Shinova has the draft ready, that she share with the chair and co-chair and give you all the opportunity to make some edits before we post them on the website.
Sure.
Thank you.
Um, oh, let's make a slight correction about that. How about us sending them to every member of the committee? Because Andrea is very interested in this stuff too. If you just send it to me and Jeff, Andrea's left out of the loop.
Well,
I said that, no,
no, I
Say
think,
no?
that's, no, yeah,
Yeah.
that's too confusing and it's too much for one person. So I would depend, usually it's sent to the chair and vice
Okay.
chair, so that, she can work directly and get that,
Okay,
okay?
well, that's good reasoning.
Mm.
So, thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item, the website, item G, working application submit button. I've been pestering Mark for several years about the application and a submit button so that a student doesn't have to print it out and walk it across the street or across campus to apply. To just be able to submit, receive their own copy and it's sent to the board, whoever's properly in charge of that would be a help to the students.
so they're not a direction of how you turn it in. Forgotten.
No, we have discussed this previously and it's completely possible to do. In fact, we did it for the Area 2 trustee vacancy. The trustees filled out a brief application on our website that automatically generated an email that went to the board clerk to gather the information. So we can absolutely do this. We've I think when you started asking for this a couple of years ago, Marcus, we did not have much experience with web forms, but at this point we're very experienced with it, and so it's something that we can do.
Great, thank you. That is all of that agenda item. Any comments before we move on? Okay, agenda item number 9, bylaws, subcommittee report. And I think we already covered that. Jeff and I had a meeting. It was a very short meeting. Jeff said, why don't you get some clarification on what the correct procedure is to request changes to the bylaws. And I sent a inquiry to Mark, and a couple of days later, might even been the next day later, he responded and said, okay, here's what you do. Your subcommittee, if you want to change the bylaws that exist right now, and you draft what changes you desire and send them to the chancellor. To the chancellor.
Mhm.
So that is the procedure. We now understand that.
And this committee has changed the or provided input previously that resulted in the bylaws change. We for an example, the initial bylaws had a March through February term, and we got really great feedback from the committee, from Andrea, suggesting that we do a fiscal year. We align the terms of this committee members with the fiscal year, which makes sense.
And the reason is to get the audit, the performance and the audits by March 31st. And so if you were cut off just before, you know.
Any other comments on this before we move on? Okay, hearing none, we're on agenda item number 10, project report. Is there any project that is worthy of comment other than Alameda, huge piles of dirt?
Sharon's prepared.
I actually have a presentation, and I'm sorry, can someone tell me if I'm coming in really loud? I don't want to be yelling at anybody.
Nope.
That's not my intention.
You
Perfect.
actually sound really good on my MacBook Pro.
Perfect. And
I could-
and Andrea, if you have a question, and specifically Andrea, because her voice is really low on my end, just speak up a little bit louder. I think everybody else I can hear pretty well.
Okay.
Thank you. So can I share my screen, or is there any questions before I start?
You can share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm not going to put my presentation in presentation mode because I like to take notes, and you guys can see my notes as I go along. So first and foremost, program cost update. So this is a very high level view of where we are for the entire program. There's a breakdown per campus and a total sum at the bottom for the entire program. And then the first column, which is labeled A, is the projected budgets as it stands today for all the campus projects, or the total sum for each campus. Column B also provides total commitments, meaning contracts and so forth that are already let out. Expended to date, column C, are all the payments that have gone out. And then, of course, column D, which is the remaining balance of the entire program and per campus. Really quickly, College of Alameda, I'm focusing on the capital projects, and the next slide will show you all the other projects that were charged against the bond program. I believe that the CBOC members requested all that, but I just wanted to focus first on the capital projects. There hasn't been much change between the last meeting and this meeting, because this is a very high level view. The auto diesel technology project is under construction. The aviation complex phase 1, still waiting for DSA approval. Aviation complex phase 2, we're still in the design phase. And then, of course, the new science admin building is still on hold. That is part of the phase 2 for the entire bond program. We've placed specific projects on hold to give us an opportunity to complete all phase 1 projects and see where we stand with all the funding. So College of Alameda, this is a listing of all of the projects that have been charged against the bond program. And you will get a copy of this entire presentation. So you guys, if you don't need to start scribbling and listing down all the projects, but you can reference this presentation. We have done some campus-wide modernizations, which can consist of keyless entry. At some other campuses, it's fire alarm. At other campuses, it's painting entire buildings. So those type of projects are listed down here. We have, for College of Alameda, there's a science annex, which is a separate standalone building, which houses the science campus programs, elevator upgrades throughout the entire campus, roofing repairs. For aviation, it's a sewer pump project that needs to, or lift station that needs to be repaired. Asphalt resurfacing, we coined it pothole repairs because that was what was listed down, but it is asphalt resurfacing project. We also did some upgrades on the building management systems, which it's known to us as BMS systems or BMS upgrades, lighting upgrades, plumbing upgrades, aviation signs, new signs, and then ADA upgrades as well. Bleachers, new bleachers were purchased, and then of course FF&E, which is just fixed furniture and equipment purchases. And then lastly, information technology or refresh, as we like to call it. Berkeley City College, we have, of course, the Milvia project, and it is going through bid right now, bidding. The general contractor or the design builder is going through bidding as we speak, or this month, and we will be looking at pricing after the bid has been completed. And this is the subcontractor bidding. There is a contract directly with Excel Construction, the design builder. They are bidding out the subcontract components. So I just want to be very specific about that. Berkeley City College, some of the smaller project, once again, campus-wide modernizations. Those are specific to each campus. Is there?
Yeah, Sharon, sorry, I just wanted to point out for the committee that
Mhm.
the old Milvia Street building has now been raised, because I think that was something
I know, I
recent.
drove by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we
There's no
have
more-
demolished the building.
A demo.
I was like, raised? No, demolished.
Yeah, raised with a Z, sorry.
So we have done that portion. Now it's the actual building of the new building that's going to occur, and that is bidding out. So Berkeley City College, the entry door replacement, that's going to happen too. It completely, the storefront's going to be replaced. Roof maintenance, of course, some HVAC controls that need to be replaced. Elevators need to be updated. There were some sinks. Actually, it's the entire janitorial closet. There was some issues with the entire sink that needed to be replaced, and some areas of the wall that were water damaged that needed to be removed and replaced. So all of that's done, and some repairs on or flooring that needed to be redone in the janitorial closets. Student lounge window shades. So all the window shades inside the building needed to be replaced. They were mechanical, and the mechanical units failed. So the window shades needed to be, the mechanical pieces needed to be replaced. Of course, there's some ADA modernization work that needs to be done in the building, so that was also completed. And then once again, information technology, which is basically refresh of, say, laptops, AV equipment, printers, and so forth. Next item, next campus is the Laney College. Once again, Laney locker room modernization. We are waiting for DSA approval. That's attached to fire alarm upgrades at the campus. So once we get the fire alarm campus upgrade approved, we can move forward with the locker project. Central utility plant, we are still under construction, and we're moving forward with that project. Learning Resource Center, we did receive DSA approval. We got state approval as well really early. So we are prepared to and moving forward with the bidding process. We're going through that with the district as we speak to make sure that we have qualified general contractors, pre-qualified general contractors, and then we will share when the project is out in the street to be bid out. Laney Theater project is similar to the Laney Locker Room project. We are waiting for the fire alarm project to be, campus-wide fire alarm project to be approved, and then we can go ahead and bid this project out and get state approval for this project, because this is a state-funded project. Laney projects, there are a lot of Laney projects in here. I'm not going to go through every single one, but these are projects that have been funded by the bond measure, so you guys can go through it. And if you have any questions regarding those particular projects or any of these projects, please reach out. But they are very similar to the other campuses. Next project, our next campus is Merritt College. We have a Child Development Center. It's under construction. If you guys have visited the campus, you could see a structure being built as well. I do have a few pictures. The horticultural building, or the hort, as I term it. We just had a groundbreaking. And so there were a few people who were able to attend. I have some pictures of that as well. Science Allied Health Building. So this is the existing science building or the Barbara Lee building where there's a section that we are building out. We are going through the design phase. We're getting closer to construction documents, and hopefully we are able to bid that out soon thereafter. So some of the pictures. So this is the Hort Center. This is a picture, well, actually a picture of the entire area for the Hort, except for there's this piece right here, which is actually goes farther down where the garden, or what we call the garden area, is. But these are the locations where the new buildings will be for the Hort project. And of course, this is a picture of our VC, our president, and of course the architect from Nolan Tam. And then another picture of site utilities conduit going through the footings and going through the foundations. Next is pictures of our aviation project at COA. If you're not familiar, this campus is at the Oakland Airport area, and these are renderings. So this is the literally the two buildings that we are designing at this point for this program, and this is a rendering of the entryway into this facility. College of Alameda. This is the new Transportation Technology Center, or what I term auto diesel, the new project. So we are dealing with footings and foundations here and dig out. This is where we are today. Merritt College. This is the Child Development Center. As I said before, we have an actual structure. I shared a picture with you last time, but we have some metal deck in place, and we are pouring, I believe, either the end of this week or the start of next week. And that is my presentation. Now, I'm sorry if you guys had any hands up. I can't see any hands up while I'm going through this presentation, but any questions?
Does anybody here have some questions for her? I think that maybe next time I might have some questions after I study this a little bit more, but I don't have any right now.
Okay.
So I see that Jill indicates that she doesn't have any questions. Andrea, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so are you having any trouble getting subcontractors, labor? What is the situation with labor and materials right now from your perspective?
Well, right now, all the general contractors that are currently working have all their subcontractors laid out. We haven't had any issues with labor from the subcontractors that have been contracted to this point in time. I haven't heard anything. Material, long lead time material is still in play, but we knew that when we contracted from day one. They haven't extended. And from what I am hearing, depending on when specifically certain material, like, for example, electrical equipment was ordered, some of them actually are available earlier than what they had projected. So that did help us.
Great.
So when we go into
Okay. So,
Atheria, I see your hand up.
so when we go into phase 2, ask that question again, because it'll be a different time and it'll be interesting to see where we are at that point.
Right. I asked because PG&E switchgear is like a year and a half out right now in San Francisco. I mean, and I think you get the same switchgear that we get, so it's like, it was a year, now it's a year and a half.
Yes, we are.
okay, any other questions? Comments? Okay, moving on to agenda item number 11, new business. I wanted to mention one thing that I intended to bring up a little earlier. We do have a bylaws subcommittee And I think that this is an ad hoc subcommittee. I'd like to invite anybody else that wants to be on the subcommittee, the bylaw subcommittee, to volunteer. What we would do is in probably 2 weeks in the evening, on a Wednesday evening, we would have a Zoom meeting and talk about the bylaws. So do I have any volunteers?
Volunteer.
Oh, great. Jill, thank you.
You already have me, so.
We already have you, okay. So I'm happy.
And that's
Yeah.
all you can have.
That-
for your
that's great.
quorum.
Exactly. Any, an additional person would make a quorum, which would require the Brown Act
Yeah.
Even-
agendas,
even for
72
an
hours
ad-
notice.
Even for an ad hoc
Yes.
committee?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So what's the difference between an ad hoc and a standing committee as far as requirements go?
Well, you're talking about a subcommittee.
Yes.
And when the subcommittee has a quorum of the whole committee, then suddenly that's the
Yeah.
legal body.
Yeah.
That's, you just have to be careful. If I were to have a cocktail party and I were to invite all 6 of you, I'd have to send out the agenda 72 hours in advance.
It's the notice, yeah, it's the notice that we're all gonna be in the same group together.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, I'd attend your coffee clutch.
thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we adjourn? Mark?
I have one comment, and I just want to thank all of the committee members for your patience and participation. I thought that Sharon's presentation was wonderful as a employee at Peralta, and I think that one way that we can get more students involved is if we keep, once we get the Brown Act legalities and stuff behind us, and we actually focus on those building projects, that would help keep students interested and maybe help us get that student member.
Yeah.
But anyhow, thank you. I really appreciate all of you.
So to that
Thank-
point, does it make sense? Is that presentation something that's gonna live on the site? Okay.
Okay, is your hand up? No. Okay, all right. And this meeting is adjourned. We beat the clock.
All right. We are at 7:13 adjourned.